went to them. Kayla?
Kiha.
Kiha.
Yes.
the semi-finals of the ICC mediation competition. Before we begin, I would like to kindly request everyone to turn off your mobile devices, mobile phones, whatever you have. I'm going to give you as much time as needed, but please make sure to do it. Is everyone ready? Okay. It's good. My name is Piotr Paprota, and I will be the mediation session supervisor for the semi-final round of the competition. The mediation will run for exactly 85 minutes. During the course of the mediation, I'm going to hold up two signs indicating how much time left we still have in mediation. That will be either a 10-minute sign or 5 minutes sign. I know that you know the rules already, you know the drill. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, before we begin, do you have your mobile phones switched off?
Yes.
That's very good. Please be, the rule is that whoever leaves the room has to stay outside of the room for the remainder of the session. Is that clear? Okay, very good. We'll be timing the session according to my clock. It's 3:05. Please feel free to begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Welcome to ICC. And congratulations for having chosen ICC mediation. I'm the ICC appointed mediator. And before we start, I have a couple of things to say. So first of all, I would propose we have a little tour of introductions. If you agree, I will start. I'm Martin Hauser, the appointed mediator. I'm German citizen, and I'm living in France for 37 years. I think that's enough for the round of presentation. Who of you wants to start?
Maybe the requesting party.
Just on the introduction. Just on the introduction.
My name is Madeline Tilley. You can call me Madeline, and I am the CEO of Health Finance.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
My name is Kiha O. You may refer to me as Kiha, and I will be acting as counsel for Health Finance.
Thank you.
So good afternoon. My name is Andrea Naj, and I'm the CEO of Japo, and you can call me Andrea.
My name is Luce Pap, and I'm the external lawyer of Andrea, the Japo.
Thank you very much. One question about full authority on both sides. Is there any discussion, or do you have full authority?
I do have.
Okay. There's one point which is very important for you. I want to emphasize that I'm totally independent, neutral, impartial. I've never met you. I might never see you again. I have no interest in the outcome of your case. I'm a facilitator. You know, mediation is a communication process. I'm here to help you to find an agreement, but I have no power on the merits, and I will not intervene in that sense. There is another very important point, the rules, mutual respect. I think it's not a problem. I see already the way you are here at the table, and you said hello one to each other. The most important is confidentiality. Why? Because people will only be able to explore interests once they know everything stays in this room. Even a lot of people, the doors are closed, it stays with us. It cannot be used in arbitration anywhere else. And why is this so important? Because we are an interest-based negotiation. You know that mediation is a structured negotiation. It is your negotiation. It's interest-based, and we'll go through several phases. One is fact-finding, exploring interest, which is the heart, and I hope that we will really work on that, getting to options, and then pick out one or two or a combination of options to find a solution. So I think that's basically what I have to tell you. You know that there's I think a 3 minutes break. You can call for caucus, I can call for caucus. And I think that's it about, basically. I hope I haven't forgotten anything. Do you have any questions?
No.
No.
If you agree with these rules, I would like to hear a loud yes from you.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So, who wants to start?
I'm happy to begin, if that's
Is
okay.
this
Sure.
fine with you?
It
I
is,
always would like to.
definitely.
Okay. So
Well,
please,
Thank you, Martin.
Madeleine.
And
And, sorry, one thing, and you called me Martin, of course, huh? I mean, I didn't. It's the rule, huh? Okay, sorry, Madeleine.
Well, Andrea and Lutza, thank you for joining us at mediation today. I first want to start off by telling you a little bit about me and Health Finance and what we stand for. I love the world of investing. I've always loved investing, and I think it can bring so much value to an ordinary person's life who chooses to invest. But then I got into ethical funding and investing. And it came to me and I realised that not only can you realise those benefits for an individual of investing, but that you can actually use it as a tool to change communities and really make a social impact. That's what I personally pride myself in, and that is the goal of Health Finance. We invest in health-related projects that make an impact on communities. And that's why I was so excited when we went into partnership with Japo for the Japo Infirmary. It was an amazing opportunity to invest in a project that I saw real value in and that I thought made a real difference in its community. Now, it's common, I think, in large projects like this, particularly construction projects, to have a few hiccups along the way. But I'm sure you can agree, since very early days, we've struggled to see eye to eye on many things. Perhaps, Martin and Andrea, it would be useful to get some context of what has happened from my point of view. Our role, Health Finance, in this partnership was to finance as well as build, design and maintain for 25 years this hospital. And our understanding was that Japo, you would maintain and run this hospital, and that's what's happened. Now, construction is not our area of expertise, so we obviously subcontracted out the construction of the building. And while we don't perform the construction, we do need to pay our subcontractors for the work that they do in constructing that. And what I want to make clear is that because of your actions and your lack of payment, there has been a blockage in the system. We can't pay those subcontractors if you can't keep up with payments. And therefore, we get a bad reputation as a financer for these cash flow issues. And it makes us struggle in investing in projects like this that are profitable to us, as well as seeing us realise social benefits alongside you. So in order for this mediation to be successful, I really need three things. Firstly, the bringing of late payments back in line with the original agreement and what we have agreed upon, as well as compensation for those late payments in the form of interest. Secondly, I really need reassurance that late payments and payments in general aren't going to be a problem for us in the future. And finally, I really want to leave this mediation today with confidence in Japo and the management of this hospital. But Kia has advised me that mediation and being here today talking to you is a great way for us to work things out, to understand each other's interests. I want to hear how you see this problem, how I can help, and how we can work together to solve it and to make the biggest impact that we possibly can. I'm optimistic because I think we have the same goals at heart. We both have private businesses, however, our purpose is to make social impact. We want to leave the communities that we interact with better than when we found them. And I really think that if we can work together today to come up with a solution that mutually benefits both of our companies, then we can really do just that.
Well, good afternoon again, Martin, Andrea and Lutza. My client and I are pleased to meet with you both to try and restore a positive relationship and maximize social impact to help you to achieve your mission of delivering the best affordable healthcare to the community. Maddie realizes that there are deals to be done here today. However, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't clarify my client's legal position going into this mediation. My client disputes the 5 million rupees that Japo has deducted each quarter. Now, my client believes that withholding these payments was not justified. Payment is essential and is an essential term of the contract for my client, and it allows my client to meet onward payments, onward contractual obligations that she owes to subcontractors to allow this project to go forward. My client considers this a gross failure under clause 60.1 of the contract. If unjustifiable delays continue in the payments owed under this contract, this will cause Health Finance millions of rupees in losses, which, if parties were to go forward in litigation, a court would find Japo liable for those rupees. Further, any undermining of Health Finance's corporate credibility with complaints about maintenance support on the hospital blog is slander. However, Maddie is here because she cares. I've advised Maddie on the collaborative and, as Martin, you've mentioned, the interest-based nature of mediation. She would rather have a respectful and robust conversation with you today than have two lawyers on behalf of you both having a legal argument in litigation. At mediation, there is an opportunity to assess what has gone wrong in the past with a view of fixing that in the present, so that you are both enabled to work together for the betterment of healthcare in the future. Now, there are synergies to be realised. You both want to do good, but you can do more good together.
Thank you very much. Before I give you the floor, I would like to summarize a little bit, and I have one question because I'm not sure that I got everything completely. You mentioned that you have project with social impact. It's very important for you. I heard that this is a large construction project, that you were to design, to build it, to finance it, and to maintain. That mostly everything was subcontracted besides the financing of the project, and that you encountered quite a lot of problems, what you called due to the lack of payment by Japo, because you said you couldn't pay the subcontractors and there had been problems, and for reputation, etc. Then, Madeleine, you mentioned several points because you would like to sort this out with the other side and find an agreement. You said we have to get the late payments back in line. I need, compensation for the late payments. And you said also insurance, that no late payments will again occur. And then finally you spoke about confidence. And there is something I lost, I didn't know exactly. You mentioned something, you said confidence, and something which I didn't get. If you would be so kind to just explain.
We'd like to leave here with confidence in Japo's management of the hospital, that it's being managed well.
Thank you very much. And then your attorney added several legal aspects, but also underlined that you're here, that you advised your client about interest-based negotiation, that you're here to find an agreement. I heard that the 5 million are the retained are disputed by you, and that actually you think that is a gross failure, and you also mentioned that there had been slander the way Japo was talking about you. Is that about it, or is that something missing, which is
Yes.
very important for you?
Perhaps I could
Please.
clarify that
Absolutely.
the sum that was withheld was 5 million rupees
Yeah.
on a quarterly basis. So
Quarterly basis.
my client believes that there is an overdue payment of 20 million rupees in total.
Brings us to 20. Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, fine, we go to you, please.
Yes, thank
Who
you
wants
very
to
much.
start?
Maybe I should start as the
wonderful.
client and CEO of Japo.
Andrea.
So, first of all, good afternoon, everybody, and I would like to thank you, Madeline and Kia, for requesting this mediation in Paris. We are truly excited to be here because I genuinely believe that this is the most effective way in which we can actually resolve our differences, and so it is an honor to be here today. I would also like to thank you, Martin, for facilitating our conversation, as it
job.
assures me that in case we need help in resolving our differences, you'll guide us towards the right path.
Try my
Madeline,
best.
Madeline, thank you for sharing your thoughts and concerns, and now let me also share my thoughts regarding the incident and what happened in our common past. So, our slogan, as Kia already mentioned, is to deliver the best affordable healthcare to our community, because our biggest goal as Japo is to provide the highest quality healthcare, not only for the rich people, but also for the poor people, because as you mentioned, Madeline, we also care about our community. And it was so impressive to hear your thoughts regarding the fact that you want to make a difference and an impact on society and the communities, because now I truly believe that we present the same core values, and so I'm confident that we will be able to resolve our differences today at this mediation. As I just mentioned, we want to help the ones in need. Therefore, we do not only provide healthcare to the rich people who can afford it, however, also to the local people who might not be able to afford such high professional healthcare. When we actually met you and found out about your company, HF, we were truly delighted because we heard that you were dedicated to ethical funding of healthcare. And we believe that this was a common ground for us, as our main goal is not only to provide healthcare, any kind of healthcare, but ethical approach is also very essential. So believing that we have so much in common and we're so much alike, we were very excited to start this project together with you. However, as you, Madeline, mentioned, and to recite you, there were some hiccups, some errors during our collaboration. First of all, there was a 3-month delay in handover from your side, and this created a sort of, let's call it, domino effect, because due to this delay in the handover, we had to reschedule a lot of operations, this meaning that our staff members had to work overtime, and we had to schedule out-of-hour operations, and also this caused us additional running costs. I acknowledge you the fact that we couldn't fulfill the payment in time for you, and obviously we are open to talk about this during today's mediation and try to find a solution to this. However, aside from this, there were other severe issues, and here I would like to highlight the maintenance problems that we faced throughout this last year. And I would like to say that our patients were severely affected because of this, and also our staff were quite dissatisfied, which meant that some of our staff members even left and searched for other hospitals where they could work. This concerns us a bit because we don't know whether you are the most appropriate partner, but still we believe that we can find our common grounds and find a solution to all of our misunderstandings. And also thank you for clarifying the fact that now we're certain that it was your subcontractors who couldn't deliver the proper maintenance at our hospital, And we just want to clarify that we don't see you as an enemy, because we are on the same side as you highlighted in your opening thoughts as well. So our main goal today is to ensure the successful operation of our hospital, and also to improve the maintenance conditions at our hospital, because unfortunately without this we will not be able to pay you in time. You need to understand this. And of course, if we manage to resolve our differences and these predicaments that both of us faced in this last year, we are more than open to try to find maybe new collaboration options in the future, as we do have some ideas how we could collaborate in the future. And now I think I managed to say everything that I wanted, and thank you for listening to my thoughts. And now I would like to give the opportunity to my external counsel, Luca, and she will enlighten the legal side of our case.
Thank you, Andrea. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm also extremely grateful that you, Madeline, and you, Kia, requested for this mediation. I strongly believe that this is the right path for us, and we will be able to solve the raised legal issue. I'm also very thankful to you, Martin, that you are here with us and support us today. So, as you, Madeline, already mentioned, that how important to you that this ethical purpose, it is a huge impact for the society. It is, like Andrea mentioned, a common ground, which is very important in this issue, to also highlight the ethical phase and not just the financial and not just this whole project. It is very important to us to see that you are able to cooperate with each other. For this reason, I believe that this partnership is very good job, and I think that it will be important to cooperate with each other. However, like you already mentioned, Andrea, we had some problems during this project. And the first 12 months of the operations, we had it occurred some big problems due to the air conditions. And it resulted that we had to take out of service 2 6-bed wards and also a radiography suite. It was a really big problem for us. We must find a solution in order to provide this high quality service like you already mentioned. And it is also important that we must provide this to our staff members and also to the patients. As Andrea also said, we cannot go forward without this, because if we are not able to settle this, we might have to use the termination clause that you, Kia, also mentioned. We only express this that show how desperate we are. It was also a gross failure, like you already mentioned, Kia, but it was also in our point of view, this maintenance problem, this also was failure. However, we believe that in the future we would be able to cooperate with you and to show to just see in the future. The secondary problem is the delay, like you already told us some information about this. It was a delay in the handover, and this caused the problems in our side and led to the overwhelming of the hospital. It is a huge problem, and we are also facing some issue due to the pharmacy, which may need upgrading constructions in order to keep the staff members and keep more people in. So these three things like the maintenance problem and also the secondary, the handover delay, and other delays, maybe also in our point of view we made some mistakes during this cooperation. And the third one is the pharmacy problem. We are still looking forward for this session, and we believe that we will be able to settle and look in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucia. I will try to summarize a little bit what I've heard, and please correct me if something is missing, because there's a lot of information and it can easily happen that something is missing here. What I've heard from you, Andrea, is that you said mediation is the most effective way of actually trying to resolve this among the parties. I think I heard that also from the other side. Then you emphasized that your mission is to provide best affordable health care, not only for the rich, you said, but also for the poor and your local people. That is what is very important for you, and you emphasized that there are some core values in common among the two parties. You said you have a common ethical approach, and this is very important for you and was very important for you. However, there are several points you mentioned. There's the 3 months delay when the hospital had to be handed over or was handed over. You acknowledge that there were difficulties in payment or delays in payment. Maybe the way I phrase it is not completely correct. There had been maintenance problem, however, which caused you a lot of trouble because, as we heard later from Luza, 2 6-bed wards and 2 radiographic suites.
Just one.
One had been taken out of service for a while because of air conditioning problems. And there had been several maintenance problems you really want to talk about. And then there's an additional problem, the pharmacy design, if I got it right, or something where you say it's also not completely state of the art. However, you're here, you want to talk about it. Now, my question is, how do you want to advance? There are many, many points. Which one is the first one you want to pick out? What do you suggest?
If I may suggest,
in which way we proceed?
Yes, if I may suggest that maybe we should start with an agenda or a roadmap. We could also write on
I'm
the
at your
board.
disposal. Is that fine with you?
I think that's a great idea to facilitate a structured conversation. Martin,
I agree.
if
It
you could
makes it
help
easier.
us put these points on the board, that would be
Okay.
fantastic.
Happy to do that.
As well as some common core values that the parties share. I've also heard some common concerns that perhaps the parties would like to discuss today. The first being a core reason why Maddie has requested this mediation, being finances as the first agenda item.
Let me just check whether we have a common understanding of these points. I mean, it has to be neutral,
Of course.
I suggest. Is that fine with you if we put finances? Is that precise enough? Do we need sub-points?
I think it doesn't have to be in an order. We definitely should talk about the finances, but not just as a first point. I believe it doesn't have to be in order.
What I suggest is all the ideas you have,
Yeah.
we throw them on the board, and then we again will talk about the order, and we put 1, 2, 3, 4, or A, B, C, as you like, and then you choose your order.
That
Huh?
sounds great. Is
So
it-
we
That's
just
acceptable for you?
let's put them down because there are many of them. Huh?
I think, yeah, if we could put finances on the board,
Finances.
and I'm happy, it doesn't have to be the first thing we talk about, but it's something I would at some point like to
Obviously,
discuss.
I couldn't agree more with you, Madeline. I also believe that the finances is an essential topic. But from my point of view, first of all, we should maybe talk about the ethical problem areas in order to clarify them, because the finances are kind of connected to all of the problem areas. So it would just be nice to, first of all, from our point, to talk about the maintenance issue and the delay in handover, and also talk about your problem areas. And then after this, we can just talk about the finances, as this is connected to all of it.
If I understand well, we will later decide on the order. Just let's throw all the topics here in a way which is agreeable for everybody. Huh?
So I've heard that obviously from both of us there are different issues that we both want to discuss. I think maybe one way we could put it on the board is a topic of hospital, and underneath we could have management, maintenance and facilities. Would that cover everything that you want to discuss?
How do you see this? Because don't you believe that we should be just a bit more precise with also the delay issue?
I
And
think it's good if we put the hospital issue there, like you suggested, and then put some sub-points below. And
okay.
You think you need the hospital? I think you all talk about the hospital, no?
Yes. So we could do Yeah, we could do
Maintenance
hospital,
and go straight away
management,
into the point.
management, maintenance, and facilities as 3 different
Is that
points.
okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Management. Management. What was the second one?
Maintenance,
Not sure whether it's an E and A. I always mix it up with French.
facilities.
The next one is what we are?
Facilities.
Facility.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, Maddie, you also
Is that
mentioned.
fine with you? Facility.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
of course.
Okay. Maddie, you also mentioned that you are both private companies, and that comes with reputational importance. So perhaps reputation could be another.
No, I heard that is
Obviously, if that is important for you, we shall discuss it as well.
the wording is fine. Reputation.
Yes, and if I may suggest, maybe if we manage to talk through these topics, we could potentially talk about our future collaboration, whether we see a partnership in our future, and what ideas we do have about this.
Of course.
So it seems like future relationship is
Or
a
just
final.
future.
Sounds good to me. Huh?
Great.
Or just future, that's fine.
Future relationship. Okay.
So Maddie, are you comfortable with that agenda, and is there anything else that you think we've missed?
Do we cover all the points you mentioned in your opening statement?
I believe so. Do you have something to add?
I think something that was brought up from both parties, and that is a sort of a common theme that runs through, is the value we see in social impact. And I think that doesn't need to be a separate point on the agenda. I think it just might be a nice idea for us all to keep in mind as we go through that joint goal.
Shall we put it on? And you can put it in brackets if it's not,
I'm-
just to have it on the board. As you like.
I'm happy to, if you want to write it up, or for us just to think about it.
Ethical,
throughout.
how do we phrase it?
Ethical,
Values.
yeah, ethical
Oh,
values.
just ethical values? Bracket, just.
It seems like we've got a pretty solid structure for this conversation. And Andrea, I know you mentioned that finances doesn't have to be the first point, but really for my client, it is an essential reason why she requested this mediation. So if you are okay with that, Maddie, perhaps you would like to start by sharing why it's so important to you.
Is it okay for me to?
May I just interrupt you a second? What I would suggest is to find a certain order.
Of course. So as I mentioned, finances is something that's important to my client. So I would suggest that would be first.
You suggest
If you were
finances
okay
one.
with
What
think-
is your?
I think that
Point of
obviously
view.
we could talk about that first. It's just I wanted to clarify the other issues so that we can talk about. So when we actually arrive at the point of finances, we can talk about all the points that are linked, and we can understand how they connect to each other.
I think it is important to see the whole story together and what really happened, to talk about the finances, the money, in order to fix the problem. But it was just a suggestion. Of course, if you would like to talk about the finances, I think we are flexible on it.
Well, where would you like to start? Where do you see?
What was your suggestion? Yeah.
Mm.
What would be your suggestion? Which one? would
So
you say?
our vision was that we would obviously like to talk about the maintenance issues, as
First.
that is one of our core problems.
This one
and-
first.
Exactly. And we would like to hear your thoughts about your issues from our side.
Right, then Maddie, would you be comfortable talking about maintenance first and then perhaps finances after?
I think that's a great idea. I'm happy to talk to maintenance.
Okay, so I put maintenance one,
Yep.
And finances second.
finance second.
Is there a
Yes, yeah.
particular
Okay.
order that you would like to follow for the rest of the agenda items then?
What is your suggestion, Lutza?
Maybe the management is also connected a little bit to the finances. So,
I
So
think
3?
that's great.
yeah.
And maybe facility 4, reputation 5.
Management 3.
Yes.
Okay.
It would make sense.
Facility 4.
Reputation
Yeah.
5.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Logic and tier 6. Is there anything you want to add before starting really at 1 to ethical values? Do you change on that, or do you think it's...
I think we have a
You said you
quite
have core values.
a thorough
Okay.
structure to follow.
So I guess we start with that.
Great.
So, Maddie, what would you like to first discuss under maintenance?
So I heard your concerns.
Just one little second. Is it fine that HF starts?
Of course.
Okay, just checking.
I heard you had concerns in your openings about the maintenance and in particular the air conditioning. And I heard you mention some negative impacts that it had on the operation of the hospital. Would you mind just explaining from your point of view what exactly has happened that has gone wrong, so that I can understand better what's happened?
Obviously. So what happened in our case that from the start of this project, from last year, there was an issue in the whole maintenance of the hospital, which meant that the facilities weren't perfect. They were quite poor, and so what we would actually like is to have all the facilities and all the amenities assured at our hospital. And we highlighted the air conditioning issue and also your quite poor maintenance response times, because this was what led to one of our biggest problems last year with regards to our hospital, and the fact that we couldn't actually use the whole area of the hospital, because Martin, you have to know that we actually had to take out of service 2 6-bed patient wards and then 1 radiography suite. And so this obviously caused us quite bad consequences, as we couldn't use the whole area of the hospital. So when patients came in, as we highlighted earlier on, when we opened our hospital, it was quite successful, and there was an overwhelming happening, as there were patients coming from other countries, and also our local people came to our hospital, and this is why this was a huge problem. And obviously maintenance in general, everything that we might understand under maintenance is important for us, as we would like to satisfy all of our patients and also our staff, as otherwise our staff is going to leave for other hospitals, which already happened in last year.
Yes, and also it was another problem with this whole situation. It was the communication, because like Andrea has mentioned, this big problem when they tried to connect the people, it was a poor response. And we didn't really get so many information about what is going to happen, how they will fix these problems, and it was a quite long period. So that's why my client has some concerns about this maintenance, because it caused a huge problem for the whole hospital.
Okay, so
May I quickly ask a question
yes.
to understand? We are under maintenance, and you mentioned here that the facilities were poor. Is this a maintenance problem or a construction problem? Just to make sure where we are exactly.
This is related to the maintenance.
Okay,
So essentially what I'm hearing is...
sorry, Kia.
Yes, sorry, I was just saying that what I'm hearing from you is really 3 concerns that you had under maintenance. First, the air conditioning. Second, the poor maintenance response times. And third, the communication. Is that correct?
I think the second and the third is connected, so
Right.
it's basically the communication.
I see. So, Maddie, is there any of those concerns that you would like to address first?
Yes, so I think firstly, you'd mentioned that sort of because of the air conditioning and the poor maintenance, that you were unable, or you were sort of overwhelmed with patients and you weren't able to serve them. And I understand that that's really important to you, because as you were saying at the start, your main goal is to provide affordable healthcare to lots of people, and we do want to make that impact. I just want to ask as well, is there any other reason why you experienced an overwhelm of patients that you weren't able to cope with, or was it just the maintenance?
So actually, our success was the main reason why we experienced this whole overwhelm, because when we opened for business, it was a huge interest from outside, from foreign countries. There were quite wealthy patients coming from other countries to our hospital, as we provided high quality healthcare, and also our local peoples came to our hospital as well, because we try to provide healthcare also to the ones who cannot pay for this. And this is the reason why we first of all experienced this whole overwhelm, and then this accumulated with the fact that we experienced a delay in the handover, a 3-month delay, and as a result of this delay, there were operations that we had to reschedule. Also, staff had to work overtime, and so this is how everything just came together, and there were so many patients that we had to deal with.
And so,
Sorry, can I have just a short question? That do you have any information about this maintenance problem? Because that was the reason why Andrea shared this information, this whole story with you. That maybe you have a better picture about what happened, and how can we fix this or avoid these problems in the future. That maybe you have more information. Could you elaborate on this?
yes. So firstly, thank you for sharing that with me. I think what I've taken from that, or coming into here, I suspected that was the case, that you were dealing with more demand than we first thought because of foreign patients. So that's good to know, and I'll make a note of that, and we can come back to that later. In terms of maintenance, I appreciate that the air conditioning wasn't working perfectly, and I'm sorry for the negative impacts that had on your patients and staff, because I know that that's important to you. But we have taken steps to deal with that. And so we've spoken to our facility manager, and we have a new subcontractor coming in beginning in 3 months' time, a 3-month implementation time, and they are going to make changes, and they think that they should be able to fix the air conditioning problems. So I can reassure you that that has been dealt with. Now secondly, I think the other point that Kiha picked up was this poor response time and the communication. And I think in a partnership like ours, it's really important that we do have those mechanisms in place to make sure that we are communicating effectively. And so hearing that was a breakdown, in your opinion, on your end, highlights to us that that's something we also need to work on. So maybe one idea could be creating some kind of structured communication where our maintenance, our facility manager comes to you every month, or you can send him a list of your concerns every month, and that way there's more fluid and structured communication so that we can sort these problems out. And so I really think that we've highlighted that for now, that it's important for us to work together to communicate effectively on these problems, because you're on the ground and you know what's happening. And so I hope that eases your concern in terms of maintenance.
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, and also for providing such great solutions to this problem. I truly appreciate that. However, I do have another question regarding the maintenance, because obviously I don't see the whole picture and everything that's happening with you and your subcontractors. So I was just wondering, did you have just one subcontractor who was responsible for the whole maintenance at our hospital? And is this why you're saying that if you replace the subcontractor with another one, the whole issue with the maintenance will be resolved in the future?
My understanding, I don't know completely. My understanding, I'm assuming that we have one subcontractor for all maintenance, and we are changing that contract to a new subcontractor. And so, are you asking that because you've had other issues with maintenance?
I believe that it was just a clarification to my client that to have a better understanding from this situation. So what do you think, Andrea? It is a good solution for you? Can it fix your problems?
I think it is. If we just can get some kind of a guarantee that in the future all the facilities at our hospital will be improved, then I'm more than happy and glad with this solution.
And just to clarify, when you say facilities, do you mean the maintenance of the facilities?
Exactly.
Okay, so absolutely, I definitely see our role. We've committed to maintaining the hospital. We've taken steps now to get a new subcontractor, and that's going to happen. So I hope that you're happy with that.
So perhaps, so that's a contractual term that we could weave into any sort of contractual variation that the parties might agree to, seeing how the rest of this conversation goes as well. Now, Andrea, I picked up on you mentioning the initial handover delay a few times now, and I just wanted to clarify my client's view on that. We don't see that as a live issue because that's what the liquidated damages clause was there, and that's why under that clause my client has already provided you 20 million rupees by way of deduction. So is that your understanding as well?
Yes, regarding this, we actually have an information that we would like to share with you. It's just, I don't know, what do you recommend, Luca? Should we talk this right now or at the finances point of our agenda, because this is kind of related to the finances?
Well, I'm happy to move on to finances now. I think, Martin, we've had a robust conversation.
I wanted to ask you, where are we here now? Because I have the feeling we're leaving maintenance here advanced. What I heard is, there's one point I didn't understand completely, but what I heard is that there was a certain sort of a recognition, please, if it's wrong, correct me, and that you mentioned that you will change subcontractor to ensure easier communication and maybe a better maintenance work to be done. But also you asked about the success and how come that there had been so many people. How's that linked to the maintenance problem for you?
I think
Just understand.
there's some misunderstanding about, or something that we don't probably see eye to eye on at the moment, is whether it was just our maintenance and the 3-month delay that's caused you to have be having to work overtime and reschedule operations, or whether there are other factors as to whether there's an increase in demand. And I think maybe we could come back to talk about that under management as a point there.
Thank you very much.
And if I can just add, I would like to have another question regarding the subcontractor. It's just, I'm really curious about this because maintenance is quite vital for us to ensure that it will be improved and successful in the future. So this is the only reason why I'm asking this to understand the big picture. Maybe do you have some more specific information regarding this new subcontractor that you will have, their name and how they operate, how it's just we want to have a partner, have a subcontractor that is trustworthy, so this way we will be ensured that in the future there won't be such problems.
I can appreciate that it's important to you to know these things because, like you said, it affects the care and the quality of service or of healthcare you give to your patients. I don't have that information at the moment. I'm sure I can go away and find out and talk to the subcontractor and learn more and then come back, but for now I don't.
Perhaps to put your mind at ease a little bit, Andrea, any sort of promise that Maddie can make after going away and talking to that subcontractor can be reflected in that contract between you and Health Finance. So I do hope that that's an option that we could discuss and sort of puts your mind at ease a little bit for now.
But I think we were moving sort of towards finances, and I think it's a really important conversation for us to have. And you said that you had some information to share.
Obviously, thank you very much. It's just I wanted to ask for your opinion. Do you think that we should ask other questions regarding the maintenance, or how do you see from the legal side? Are there any other clarifications that shall be made at this point?
I believe that right now you don't have so many informations about this, but you're, I believe, quite sure that it's going to fix this problem, which is very happy to hear that you're so open and share this information with us. And I believe that it could be a very good guarantee for us in the future. And we are very happy to see that we are moving forward. So yeah, maybe we could check if Martin is fine with it, the maintenance problem.
I follow you. If you want to go to maintenance, okay. To finance, let's go to finance.
That's
Perfect.
great.
You're already talking a little bit about finance anyway, so
So you can
let's talk about it plainly.
So,
Who wants to start?
so are you going? Do you want to share, or I've got some questions if you don't want to?
Who wants to start?
Yes, I would like to share some information because
Is okay with you?
actually our accounting department made some calculations, and they came to the result that because of the delay in handover, the costs and the damages that we suffered did amount to 24 million rupees instead of 20 million rupees. And this is why we were asking for, we actually withheld this other amount of money, the 5 million rupees each quarter, as there were some additional costs that weren't calculated into this 20 million rupees.
Okay. So could you please give me a breakdown of firstly what those additional 4 million rupees are, but also what the 5 million rupees per quarter that you withheld is related to?
Obviously, what do you suggest, Lutza? How should we proceed this way? Should we just put it on the board, or I shall just tell them?
If I'm correct, if I understand you correctly, then you want to know specifically why is it this amount of money, the 24 million?
Yes.
That's what I understood.
Well, I think we don't have right now the specific answer to this question because it is a job of the financial department. We just got the numbers about this, and I believe that in another session we can share with you this information, because of course it is very important to you and we are more than happy to share.
Exactly. The specific information that we have with regards to this is that the additional costs cover the additional running costs that we had to encounter because there was a 3-month delay, and therefore our staff had to work overtime, and we had to keep our hospital open for additional hours, and also we had to pay our staff because they stayed and worked at our hospital for more than they were actually intended to.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that for you, the additional or the total cost that you've suffered is 24 million. So would you be willing to pay us back and to get back on track of the payment schedule and pay us the 16 million, for example, potentially that you still owe us?
I think that we have reached a moment in our discussion where it would be maybe useful if we share our handouts with the breakdown of the finances that we have.
If you
Would
want
that
to
help
do it,
us?
I believe that it could be helpful.
I think it would just be easier for you to understand, and so
Just for me, one question of clarification. So what I hear from you is you're saying your accounting department calculated that you have actually a loss of 24 million,
Yes.
and you are asking whether they are ready to pay you the 60 million.
Yes, obviously
That's where we are.
we would like the 20, but I'm just interested
Yeah.
if you
Yeah,
would
yeah.
pay the 60.
Yeah, these things are connected, so of course, if you're curious, you
Thank
can
you.
have it too.
okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
So maybe it would be also useful for me to clarify this and explain the breakdown of the finances from our side. So during the first year, initially we were supposed to pay you 80 million rupees. However, with the liquidated damages that we discussed, there was a minus of 20 million rupees. So this meant that we were supposed to pay 60 million rupees divided into 50 million rupees each quarter. However, our financial department, our accounting department calculated that there were additional costs due to the delayed handover, so we actually suffered 24 million damages instead of 20, and also there was a loss of staff and recruitment needs, which accounted us for another 2 million rupees. And I think that I forgot to mention the fact that because we couldn't use our 2 6-bed patient wards and our radiography suite, we also had to face a loss of 4 million per year, which if we break it down to the 4 quarters, that's 1 million per quarter. And this means that in total, we lost 10 million rupees.
Okay, so I can understand this breakdown. What I'm struggling to understand is that if we bring it back to what we were saying before, that there has been more demand than expected because of foreign private patients. So I think that that's a management problem, and that's a staffing and a resourcing problem for Japo to take on. And so I think that cost shouldn't be taken on by health finance, because that's not our role in this partnership. And I think Kiha, am I correct in that understanding from our contract?
Yes, and in addition to that, I'd just like to advise you, Maddie, that delays are common in construction and sort of project agreements, and the parties did anticipate some kind of delay. That is why we had a liquidated damages clause, which would cover any damages due to that delay in the contract, and that has already been deducted from my point of view. So, Martin, it seems like the parties have sort of come to the table with different understandings of how this payment works. Maddie, is there anything else that you would like to ask in order to clarify the situation further?
I think this is a really difficult conversation, but an important conversation for us to get through. And I think in order to do it really effectively, I would really appreciate a private conversation with Martin and my lawyer.
You can start.
We have 5 minutes, 1 minute before the time.
You're not going to do.
Well, Martin, I really want your help at this point. I have come to the table today with financial constraints. Obviously, as a person in my company, we are ethically oriented, but in the end, we owe a duty to our investors to give them returns. And so what I really need today is to get the payments back on schedule and to get and to receive compensation for these late payments, because we do have to make money. And I think that I know that I need to communicate this to the other party, but I want your help, or wondering if you have any advice in a way that I can present it and communicate without focusing the conversation on blame and past failings, because I know that's not going to get us anywhere, but how we can push it in a direction that's solution focused and future focused, but within the constraints that I've come to this table with today.
What do you think? You have any idea yourself which way you can do it, or I mean, what would you suggest?
I think I need to probably
What's your feeling?
first understand more, not only about why they feel that they don't owe us this money, but also why they haven't been paying us on time. because even when they have paid us, it's been up to 21 days late. So I think I probably need to get a better understanding of their financial situation first. I think, Kiha, do you have any advice on how to do that?
Well, Maddie, I can understand that the topic of payments, and especially overdue payments, can be quite sensitive. But it sounds like to me that you've come to this table needing to talk about this matter, and so I would say that you do need to talk about it in the context of this commercial reality that you are in. But perhaps you could shed some light on why effective and timely payments are important to you both, because the reality is that if these payments cannot be met, then you're no longer acting in the best interests of those investors that you talked about, and you will probably be under pressure to sell this investment to other, perhaps non-ethical investors, and these sort of big Wolf of Wall Street figures are not going to be interested in the ethical values that you both are seeking. And it seems to me that a possibility is that these investors would try and gain a lot of short-term profit and then sell off the investment again. So perhaps highlighting that, you know, you are both working here together and payments are important to you both in order to realise that social impact would be a good way to deliver that message.
I think,
According to you, what could be an approach to talk about money here? There are a lot of points, there's an all over sum.
yeah.
According to you, what could be an approach?
I think I like, I agree with your advice, Kiha. I think there are a few main things to do. The first one is to just communicate those constraints. I think secondly, actually explain why the money is important in this situation and the flow-on effects that it has. And finally, just talk about how I'm here and I'm trying to work this out because I want to be able to keep financing this operation, and the reality is that if these payments can't be met and they can't keep payments on time, then I'm going to be pressured to have to sell the investment to the highest bidder. And I don't want that to happen because, like you said, I know it's going to go probably to a financing company that doesn't care about the poorer people that they want to provide healthcare to. So does that, Martin, do you think that's an effective way to have the conversation?
Look, you're building your strategy. There is a global approach or a detailed approach. Put forward your questions. I think that's a very good advice. Ask, get the information, and then you will share. But we can also make a sub-agenda or something like this and talk about this individually, or go for the big amounts, depending how urgent this is and how much time you have.
That's right. And Maddie,
This is, I think, the end of the focus. Thank you for being patient. Do you also would like to have a caucus, or is it fine at the moment?
I think that right now we
You
would
don't
just
need
be
one.
curious, yes, to
Good.
hear their thoughts
Perfect.
and
Thank
maybe
you very
in the
much.
future.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for letting us have that time. There are a few things I want to discuss with you now. I think firstly I want to make it clear that I come here today with financial constraints. Obviously we've shared this mutual, these mutual values of wanting to ensure that the work we do is ethical and has an impact. I do want to make it very clear though that we are a financing company, and although that's my goal, is that our financing has an impact, we have a legal, a moral and a contractual duty to our investors to give them returns and ensure that they get their money back. So we really need the payments to be up to date and to make sure that payments are really made on time. And I want to firstly explain why that's important and then sort of discuss about that. So it's really important for us that payments are made and are made on time because, like I said earlier, there are flow-on effects. So we need to pay subcontractors, we need to pay returns to our investors. And if we're not getting the money at the right time, then we have cash flow issues. So I'm wondering, I think we obviously dispute at the moment the amount that is owed, but I think that's something in the interest of time to park for now. What I would really like to understand is why have you not been able to meet the payment deadlines, because I know some payments have been 21 days late.
Obviously. So I'm going to share this information with you so that you can understand why we weren't actually able to make payments in time, because I understand that it is of utmost importance for you to ensure that you pay to your investors so that you can function properly. So as we mentioned a lot of times, when we opened for business, we were overwhelmed, and there was a quite big interest from the side of the patients. There were a lot of patients coming to our hospital, and because of this, and also because of the fact that there was a delay in the handover, we had to reschedule operations, and our staff members had to stay at the hospital overtime. But also, most importantly, what I would like to highlight is that because there were so many patients at our hospital, we had no choice but to employ new staff members for our patients. And because of this, we also faced liquidity problems in the last year, as we didn't have the essential financial background to pay all of our staff members, as we didn't expect to have so many patients and also to have new staff members coming in because of this. And so this was why this caused us liquidity problems, and why we were unable to pay you on time.
Sorry, just a short clarification that Andrea has already mentioned in the beginning, that it is a domino effect, and I think it is also important information that, as you can see, that it wasn't that our fault, and it also, I understand that it wasn't your fault, this whole delay problem. It started with some problems during this project in the beginning, and then after a while it generated more and more problems. So I believe it is a domino effect, and I believe that in the future maybe these issues like this late payment, what we were talking about, I think won't occur in the future.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that underpinning all of these issues and your late payments is this issue that there's more demand than was expected, and so you've had to get more resources, which has cost you. So it seems like this is an issue that's really underpinning everything. And while I acknowledge that there was that 3-month delay, which, as Kiha said, and I think in construction that's quite normal because of subcontractors and everything, we accept there was that delay. But it seems that what's really driving this increase in patient numbers is these foreign private patients, or just more patients in the area than we expected. Is that correct?
Yes, it is, but also I would like to gladly share with you the fact that our situation is on its way to stabilize. So we believe that in the future we will not have such liquidity problems. Obviously, this means that the maintenance has to be ensured that it will be proper and efficient, because if it isn't, our staff members will be dissatisfied, also our patients will leave, and therefore we're again in kind of a deadlock, because we won't have the essential financial resources. But if it is ensured, then we will be able to pay you on time in the future.
So Andrea, you mentioned that there were liquidity issues, and in my experience with commercial disputes, there's always a bit of a transition period from having liquidity issues to getting back on your feet into a more stable position. So do you expect there to be a transition period, or do you expect to be able to meet those payment deadlines immediately and going forward?
It actually depends on how fast you can provide the proper maintenance to us. So these things are all linked. We do not have the specific information regarding the timing, but we hope that in the soon future we will be able to provide you on time with the payment.
Okay, so to clarify, there's going to be a 3-month transition period for maintenance, but after that I expect that it will all be going well. I just want to clarify though, we've spoken about these different drivers for why there's been an over-increase in demand. One is because there's a few rooms that are out of service because of the air conditioning, and the other one is this unexpected demand. So is that unexpected demand going to continue to be a factor that we need to address, or do you think that the demand's going to go back down to what was expected?
Sorry, please could you clarify what unexpected demand you're talking about, because I'm not understanding it quite clearly.
Of course. So earlier you said that there were more patients than expected coming into the hospital, and that was another reason why you were having to get staff to work overtime and to employ more staff. And so I just want to ask, is that going to continue in the future? Because if so, I think we maybe need to have a discussion about whether more investment and more construction is required in order to meet that demand, because if that is a big driver and it's not just those 2 rooms that are out because of the air conditioning, then we have a much different problem to deal with.
I couldn't agree more with you, and this is the reason why I actually suggested talking about a potential future collaboration, because we're planning on actually making some improvements to our hospital because of this demand, and also because of other predicaments that we're facing. But obviously I think that the timing for that discussion shall be when we actually arrive to that point in our discussion. But what do you think, Martin? How should we proceed from this? And also I think it would be quite useful for us if you could just summarize what we've been talking about in the past couple of minutes.
Not only summarizing, but also have a question. What I hear from you, HF, is that you're saying it is very important, you really put out your interest, that you get this money in. You explained why, because you have to make money, you have to pay back the people who finance you, so really for you it is important to get the money. And I wanted to turn to you to understand what your interest is regarding these damages. Because there are somewhere 10 million, then there are 4 more than the 20. You spoke about 24 million, then there are 10. What is your interest regarding these financial aspects? Understood that within a certain time you won't have any liquidity problem anymore. You explained where it stems from. What is your interest on that subject? What's important for you?
So
regarding the finances.
Regarding the finance,
I understand, maybe I'm wrong, that you want to get some money back. You retained money, but you want to have money back. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
So the reason why we wanted to clarify our financial situation and why we had to withhold more money than the 20 million rupees that we agreed to with HB is because we face other issues, and we just wanted to break down these additional costs so that Madeline and Kia can understand why we had to take these steps. And I would just like to say that it wasn't obviously my decision, but it was the Board of Trustees' decision to withhold this amount of money. So we just wanted to clarify the situation.
These are the
of
40 million
finances.
you retained out of the 80? Huh?
Exactly.
But then there are another 4 million and another 10 million.
No.
I get that correct? No?
No.
Okay.
So maybe it would be helpful if I can
Yeah,
just
yeah.
clarify it and
Yeah.
take things step by step again. So there was, first of all, 20 million rupees that we didn't have to pay HF because they acknowledged the liquidated damages problems because of the 3-month delay in the handover. And after that, we retained another 5 million rupees
Per quarter.
each quarter. Yes. And we didn't give an explanation to HF why we retained that amount of money. This, if we calculate it for a year, this amounts to 20 million rupees. So this in total is 20 million plus 20 million, 40
Brings us to the
million
40.
rupees. Exactly. And to break it down, I would like to talk about the 20 million rupees that we retained without any explanation. So that's why I wanted to break down the reason why we retained this or we deducted this 20 million rupees was because again, so first of all, there were the 4 million rupees as additional costs besides the 20 million. There were also 4 million. I have to look at my notes because I just want to say the precise numbers. So there were.
So the 10 million which are here are part of the 20 actually. You deducted without explanation. I understood originally, and I'm completely wrong, that they were on top.
Exactly,
Okay.
and the reason why we deducted more than that amount
that's
is
the
because
explanation.
our board of trustees told us that we should deduct this amount of money.
So we have, these 10 explain from your point of view the 20 you retained, and what is with the other last 10 million?
I think there are a lot of numbers obviously here, and I too am getting a bit overwhelmed.
So
but
just want to understand what exactly your interest is, and I think it's very important for you to hear what does it mean, the payback of 10 million on the paper?
It means that if HF really insists, then obviously we need to pay this amount back to them because this was unjustified. But I just wanted to clarify that the reason why we retained this was as kind of raise awareness to the situation, to the poor maintenance.
So from your point of view, the 20 liquidated damages, I think there's not much of a discussion among the parties. 20 million had been retained. You give the explanation from your point of view now, which means the 10,000 which are all detailed here, and another 10,000 which you could envisage to pay to the other side, knowing that you absolutely need the money. That's what you explained.
And also, if they show us that how much they care about this project and about its maintenance problems and other problems, if we can all agree on other problems, then of course we will be able to give you this 10 million.
So what I'm hearing is that, Andrea, you said that that was an unjustified withholding of that, correct me if I'm wrong, 10 million rupees? So in my client's view, that is payable. It's not really conditional on any other agreements. And my client has made it quite clear that she's come to this table wanting to further this relationship, but also needing to recover those payments. And going forward, it seems as though there was some sort of communication gap as to why this 2 million rupees was withheld without explanation. So perhaps going forward, ways to improve that communication is something that both parties would benefit from.
And before we move on from finances, I just want to be very clear on the reality of our situation today and why I want to make this work. Obviously, like I said, I'm operating under these financial constraints. If we do not get the payments back to on schedule and on time, then I'm going to be pressured from my board to unfortunately withdraw our investment or on-sell the investment to a venture capital firm. And what that's going to mean is that unfortunately they will probably highly likely not be an ethically minded financing firm who will only care about the profit that you make and won't care about the impact that you can have in your community. And so I really hope we can cooperate and collaborate here today and find a solution where these constraints for us can be met, and in return we can show you how much we want to invest in this hospital. And I think we kind of have some ideas about that, even moving on to facility. So I understand that you have some concerns about the pharmacy facility. Now I want to make it clear that we dispute that we didn't create a state-of-the-art facility and it was signed off by your head pharmacist. However, we appreciate that you want to be a top hospital and you want amazing facilities. And so we have gone to our designer and we've looked at ways that we can improve the pharmacy. And I've even got a handout with some photos just to sort of get inspired about designing what we could create together, because I want to stay an investor of this hospital.
Thank you.
I want us to work together to create amazing spaces, amazing facilities
Thank you.
that allow you to treat your patients and provide healthcare to not only these foreign private patients, but also to those that are poorer in your community. So these are obviously just some sort of more commercial pharmacy elements, but I think something as well we've spoken about is communication. And it seems like there was a bit of a communication breakdown in the design of the pharmacy because you're not happy with it. And so maybe one option is that for this project and for any other ones going forward, is that we really have a sit-down consultation with your doctors and nurses and healthcare professionals, because they are working in the hospital, they're on the ground, and they know what works to care for patients. So we can bring in our subcontractors, our designers, with your healthcare professionals, and that way we can not only ensure that patients like it, they keep coming, the hospital's financially stable, but they're also receiving the best care.
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, and I truly appreciate your gesture, because I can see that you are really devoted to this project. And just to make a bit of a clarification at the pharmacy project, I just wanted to ensure that our problem is not the fact that the pharmacy wasn't of excellent quality, because it was. It is just there was another hospital in Marana that had even better facilities regarding the pharmacy amenities, and we just wanted to upgrade our pharmacy in order to meet the same standards, because this was one of the reasons why even our chief pharmacist had to leave our hospital for the other hospital. So just wanting to ensure that you did a excellent work with the previous pharmacy, and that we truly appreciate this gesture from your side. And also I believe that as we're talking about communications, and there seems to be an agreement on the side that there is an issue with it, I think that your ideas are great, that we should just sit down and maybe there can be a more structured way of communications, but obviously I would like to hear your idea regarding this. But I was just thinking about maybe a communications board that would consist of experts and doctors, and also specialists from both HF and our company Japo.
I think I believe that it is a great offer, and thank you for sharing this information with us. I also believe that it is a good start to cooperate with this pharmacy project, and I believe it is a really good common ground. Maybe Martin, could you help us a little bit that where are we now? So
What I hear, thank you very much. I just thought, what I hear basically on both sides that you talk about upgrading the pharmacy.
Yes.
I actually heard that you acknowledge that they did a great job, and you want to upgrade it to the latest state of the art or something like this, and you talk both about upgrading.
Yes.
That's where you are. Am I
think
correct?
yes, and I think finished with the facility if you don't have any questions.
Well,
So
while we're on upgrading, I think this is, I'm probably getting a bit excited here, but you mentioned another hospital in Marana, is that correct?
Exactly.
So I think something that we really want to show our commitment to wanting to be an investor, and that in return we really want to see commitment from you on the financial side. But I think in order to really build that trust between us and to show how committed we are, we've also got another potential option from our facilities manager, who has not only talked about the pharmacy, but about upgrading the welcoming area and the sort of open entrance area to be even better than your competitor in Marana, because obviously they're a competitor for you, and you need to make sure that you are providing just as good, if not better, facilities than them. So our understanding of it is that it would be a really competitive edge for you to have that upgrade in design, and that is something that we're willing to help you finance and design and construct and organise that, as long as those financial commitments can be met on your end. Kiha, do you have any idea of how that could look?
I think that is a great option, and I think that would be a really great way to sort of rebuild the gaps that have sort of surfaced in your partnership. And obviously you mentioned that you had a huge success with opening this project, so congratulations first of all.
Thank you.
Secondly, Maddie, you mentioned one potential option to cater for both local and also poor people who would like healthcare without necessarily requiring facilities.
Actually, thank you, Kiha. I think something that really has struck me that you've talked about earlier on is your want to not only help those who are wealthier, like the private hospital, but also those in poorer communities. And I think that balance of profit and ethics is something that really strikes me. So one idea that we had is that, again, we're willing to invest more to help you keep up with the extra demand and really serve your community, is travelling clinics. So obviously it takes time to construct parts of a hospital, but we can get vans that can go out into community areas, both to private, to sort of wealthier areas for private, to make money, in order to go into poorer communities as well, to give healthcare advice and to help you. So like I said, we're committed to, if you can show commitment to this partnership, to really invest more, to grow, to better work together, so that you can do what you do best and we can help you to do that.
Martin, it sounds like both parties have already started coming up with some options that would further the social reach and impact that you are both interested in making and would like to make in the future. Unfortunately, because of time constraints, it seems like there are still a lot of items that the parties would further need to discuss.
The next meeting,
Yes, so I mean, I was wondering if the parties would like to discuss again in the near future. Would you be free next week, perhaps, for an additional meeting?
Of course.
So
I
think
come back from the Austrian mountains, of course.
So Martin, from what
Would be
you've heard
happy.
from us, I think in order for our next mediation to be productive, we both need to go away and to get some more information, to come back and really make a clear agreement. So from what you've heard from us, do you think there's anything in particular that we really need to go and get the information and bring it back?
I just had one question. You're talking about pharmacy upgrading and we're under finances. What does that mean for you?
I feel as though we may have slipped into the facility.
That's it.